All right, so here is a very little known fact that affects virtually all of us out there. It turns out that billionaires and their private foundations are shaping public schools in this country. And while their influence might be quiet, they have bold-faced names. Names such as Bill and Melinda Gates and the Walton Foundation. They're just among some of the bigger players influencing public school education all the way from K through 12. Joanne Barkan has written about this for Dissent magazine. It's a self-described magazine of the left, and Joanne joins me in studio now. So I want to talk about what some of the findings are. Bill and Melinda Gates, they are considered to be wonderful philanthropists and really fantastic people. So why is it a big deal to have their money from their Gates Foundation influencing the education of our nation's children?
Well, I think there are two problems. The first is what I'd call a democracy deficit, that they have a tremendous amount of influence, not just them, but especially the Broad Foundation and the Walton Family Foundation. They have a tremendous amount of influence in shaping the public debate in terms of even designing and helping implement government policy, but they're accountable to no one. Absolutely no one. And the public schools belong to the people, to the parents and the teachers, and they're paid for by the voters. And so that democracy deficit is extremely important. And the other is what I would call a quality deficit. The Gates Foundation very consistently has been experimenting, but not based on really solid research. They poured.
But don't you think that they're giving this money in altruistic fashion so that we can see successful education and kids prosper in the country? I mean, I doubt that they're donating money so that they can see school systems falter more than they already are.
Yes, of course. I mean, they have good intentions. I'm not questioning their intentions, although their overall model is that public schools should be run like businesses. And I question that model. I think that business practices don't necessarily work for education. So that's one problem. But another problem is that they really do have this history of funding projects that kind of mess up schools for real live kids, and then they say, oh, that didn't work, we're going to try another experiment. And so the things they're doing now in charter schools, in turnarounds which close schools and replace them with charters, in terms of merit pay for teachers, in terms of basing teacher evaluations and student evaluations on standardized tests, none of these things have been proven scientifically. A lot of studies are coming out now to show that they don't work, and yet this has really shaped the policy, in part because Arne Duncan comes right out of the foundation world. He was on the board of the Broad Foundation. He believes in all of this. I think President Obama does as well. So there's kind of a consensus around this reform strategy, but I really don't think it's a good strategy.
So while we wait to have the proof come in, proof positive, let's talk about what you say is the business model structure that they may be trying to run certain schools by. And I guess it's through the reporting that you point out that with trying to run it like that, they're putting in superintendents. So with this money, what type of strings are attached?
Well, what you referred to is specifically two projects of the Broad Foundation, very successful projects from their point of view. They run a superintendent's academy. They want to take people from outside the world of education. This is part of the business model. Let's take military leaders, people at the top of their profession, and let's say business. Give them 6 weekends of training, and then help to find them jobs as superintendents. And they placed, in 2009, they placed 43% of all the superintendents in large urban districts came out of the Broad programs. But they aren't necessarily the best of people to be equipped to running education. I mean, I myself like the idea of the top people in education running these
passionate
districts.
People, yeah. It's interesting, though. It's very interesting reporting, and I think probably all of us would agree, though, if our kids could grow up to be as rich as Bill Gates, we'd all be happy.
Not necessarily.
Well, I don't know. I speak for myself then, for my future children. Joanne Barkan, thanks for coming in with Dissent magazine.
Welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As Congresswoman Gabby Giffords moves to the rehab phase of her recovery, others